She wrote a children's book about grief. Then a jury exposed the truth. Her husband didn't just die suddenly. This is Darren's Case Files. From the outside, everything looked fine. So what went wrong? Kouririchins is a mother of 3. She's a real estate agent, living what looked like a stable life in Utah in the US. She and her husband Eric lived in a town called Kamas. Quiet town, family focused, but behind the scenes there were cracks. There usually is. Eric had concerns about money, about business decisions, and about trust. What no one knew at the time was that something much darker may have already started. What if this wasn't the first time? Months before Eric's death, something strange had happened. He became violently ill after a drink. Doctors tested but couldn't fully explain it, but it's later believed this may have been an earlier poisoning attempt. At the time, it passed. No charges, no answers, but in hindsight, it would become a critical part of this puzzle. So let's go back. What actually happened that night? March 2022, Eric Richins was at home. By morning, he was found dead. At first, it didn't raise alarms. Sudden death, yes, but it was unexplained. Then the toxicology report came back. Fentanyl. Not a trace amount, not accidental exposure, enough to kill him 5 times. That's when everything changed. If this was intentional, why? The police started digging, they found financial pressure, large real estate deals, and just days after he died, a multi-million-dollar property deal. One that he had opposed was finalized. Then there was life insurance. And then evidence that Corey had allegedly tried to obtain fentanyl. Let's talk about this. There's a procedure. This opens up a whole new little avenue on the case. Later in court, they showed text messages. That's intent. Witness testimony from the dealer. That's action. Toxicology reports. That's the result. So intent, then action, then the result equals a full chain of events. Piece by piece, a motive began to form. And then she did something no one expected. Less than a year later, Kouririchins wrote a children's book, Are You With Me? It was about grief, about helping children cope after losing a parent. She promoted it publicly, she did interviews, she read it aloud, all while investigators were quietly building their case. That moment changed how people saw everything. So when did everything finally collapse? May 2023, Kouririchins was arrested, charged with aggravated murder, attempted murder, and financial crime. The case that once looked like a tragedy was now being treated as something far more deliberate. So, after everything, what did the jury decide? March 2026, after weeks of testimony, the jury reached a decision. Guilty. Not just of murder, but of an earlier attempt to poison him too. The same story she told the world about grief, about loss, now looked very different. A children's book about grief, written by the person who caused it. And this time, the story has an ending. Until next time.